Okay. First and foremost, as the title of this stream really says, and what we've been doing recently as I go on these monologues is really try to sum up and really present everything we're even going to get into, not just on a, oh, this is the newest gossip or beef for the day, but as a overall look into what's going on in the industry and the culture that we love. Also what's going into your regular lives, and sometimes everything converges. That's really the main thing of what we're doing, right? Obviously, we're always into the bullshit, but I want to give you guys a little bit of nourishment, because if I only give you the fuckery, right, which, you know, I'm pretty good at giving you the fuckery, you know, I don't think I'll be living up to my name, Academics, if we weren't a little bit balanced, right? We could have the chicken fingers, but at least have a little bit of celery on the side. So anyway, you know, I kind of wanted to start with, you know, as everybody has been seeing it. Do we have any people who invest in crypto in here? I would like to see if you invest in crypto, it doesn't matter if it's a meme coin or even, you know, a stable coin, just one in the chat. Just one in the chat, right? And I could imagine you guys at this moment are probably going through it. Bitcoin, if you guys don't know, the price of Bitcoin is currently 69,000. It fell from a peak of 126,000, and the price of Ethereum, those are the two most popular stable coins, at a point like within the last about 7 or 8 months, it was up to damn near 4,000, and now it's halved. It's at 2,000. People have kind of became really skeptical and really worried about what they're now saying is a crypto crash, with some even expecting that maybe that the cryptocurrency price of Ethereum, but not only that, but more importantly, Bitcoin, might go down to sub 50,000 level. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm even starting here, this is not a financial lesson, and this is not this is not like a money course, right? But, you know, everything always matters in the world. And as we get on to talk about topics that might involve businesses, it's important that you guys understand everything from top down. We've been also continuing with, I feel like it's education a bit, where I'm giving you guys a little bit of what's going on in the world and how it affects us, but even how it affects culture and otherwise, right? So this is why I'm starting here. Now, as the title suggests, you know, nothing, I say nothing is real, but the idea of money and currency and wealth, thought about in some realms, is that none of this shit's real. Now I'm gonna help explain it to y'all. Like, why is Bitcoin worth whatever it's worth? Why is, you know, Ethereum worth whatever it's worth? Now, in the general stock market, it's a little bit easier to understand, right? Like, you know, if you're investing in, I don't know, say Spotify, and Spotify tells you, like, as every public company does via NASDAQ, the Wall Street, you know, market, they're going to say, hey, listen, we made this amount of money. We're anticipating to make this money next year. They're going to show you growth. They're going to show you profit. They're going to show you losses. And you could kind of even look at it to be like, this is a profitable company. And if they want money to scale up, I believe in them scaling up. And when they scale up successfully and they get profit, usually for most companies, they do what's called a dividend, right? I'm not here to give a math course or economics course, but I am here to just explain very simple things. And that's why I'm not going to play 15 videos on things to teach you everything. I'm hoping you just kind of get it. That's why it's a monologue. So the price of Bitcoin is kind of an arbitrary number that's kind of like picked by mostly, you know, as the old saying goes, kind of supply and demand in a sense. But the demand is really what matters. Why does the demand go up or go down? Like, you know, shit, if everyone wants to buy Bitcoin, there's a certain finite amount of Bitcoin. If the demand is a lot, the price usually reflects that, because usually people are buying what people are offloading, and you could offload for a higher price. But if you kind of boil it down, it's basically what we say value is, right? Like a piece of paper money. I don't have any on me. Why is that worth $100? It's basically like this tacit agreement between me and you saying that this piece of paper that's made by the U.S. government is going to be worth $100. Now, the reason why I'm saying nothing is real is because we constantly see fluctuation of what's worth something and then instantly or it goes down to zero, or we just see like it's not worth anything else, right? Why is a car worth, I don't know, 100,000 when it's on the lot? You drive it off, you spend 2 weeks with it. If you try to sell the same thing back, now it's 70,000. All these things become almost like this idea of all about perception. And once things are based on perception, there is a thinking, not common, because this is still real money, like, right? Or real perceived money. But if you have that thinking that nothing is real, you kind of start to realize, and by the way, I'm not going cuckoo. For some people who might be like, yo, what is Zach talking about? Just follow my train of thought. You might be like, all right, if nothing is kind of like has actual value that can't change. I'm not saying nothing. I'm mentioning cryptocurrency right now, because I'm going to transition to something else. And really, so crypto crash, and recently we've been talking about a few topics. Now, I know some of you guys that might be interested in crypto. Maybe you're really into it, or you're not. There's some people that they're into the predictions of it. They look at the charts and they try to okay, all right, here's a dip, it's about to go up. They do all that, and some people just read what other people think and they go off the experts. Who cares what you do? The point is, Bitcoin fell 50%. Okay? Now, what's important, and I always tell you, we always got to follow the money. There's a lot of things that kind of really resulted in that. If you ask people, they could say a bunch of things. They said, well, it's a couple things with the government. I think the running theory now is that there's some Hong Kong hedge funds that over leveraged the Bitcoin going up, and they use the Chinese yen, which is like their currency, which is a cheaper, conversion than the US dollar, to kind of back those. And basically they offset it against a BlackRock bet, because, if I don't want to get too much in the stock market, but you could get to calls and shorts, which you could predict if a stock is going to go up, and a stock or a crypto is going to go up or go down. Don't want to get too much into it. I just think about overall what I'm saying. There's a bunch of theories. But not only that, in terms of these ETFs held by these hedge funds in Hong Kong that have now, did some bad calls or some bad deals and over leveraged their position. Also, there's this like shift to AI, right? Like a lot of people who were betting big on Bitcoin, they're now taking their money and they're also betting big, or they're leveraging it on AI. Also, the data miners, the that used to be powering Bitcoin, it's down 40%. They're now powering AI, right? AI is like this new thing. AI. You're going to hear it a lot. And I'm trying to make sure you guys are very familiar at a top level with it. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds with it. But all of this stuff kind of matters. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not the biggest crypto expert. And also, I don't think no one has the real answer for why crypto's down, right? Fully, right? It's not one thing. It's like a bunch of things. But all of those things is the reason why it's down. But it kind of goes to the pivot of what I was saying with like AI. Now, this is kind of the crux of my idea, or not my idea, but me saying nothing is real. I want to give you a quick course. And again, this is me, a little bit of a nerd, a little bit of a math major, but I'm trying to make it understandable and palatable to some of you guys that have probably no idea about finances or economics. Remember I said, why is a Bitcoin worth $120,000? Or why is it worth $69,000? Or why is it not worth $1? It's a lot of like perception here. Right? It's a lot of, perception, hope, faith that people could value and also leverage, and then it creates like a market value. Why am I bringing that up? Because now with AI, and I want to give you the story of AI, and I gave it before a little bit, but there's a funny story with AI. I'm an avid investor. A couple months ago, actually about a year ago, just like any avid investor, I'm just starting to get some houses and stuff like that, because I was just too heavy like in crypto and just like stock market. So I got a couple houses and like I got some tenants and shit because real estate's supposed to be the thing to get you wealth. So, but I've always been like a heavy investor. So now, about like a year ago, I get hit up, and a lot of people get hit up, and people get kind of that bug where people are saying, yo, everybody, if you really want to, make a lot of money, you need to invest in Nvidia. And I don't know if you guys are into investing, but if you guys are, you will realize that Nvidia about like a year ago, it just went through the roof. Okay, just went through the roof. Now, I'm going to give the story really quick. I could get more in depth, but I do not want to just drown people out because it's a simple story and I'm trying to crystallize my not necessarily theory, but just the point I'm making that really nothing is real. So going from a Bitcoin, right? What's the difference with it being worth 120,000, 60,000, or $6, right? Like you can't see a Bitcoin. It's just numbers on a screen. Like what is it? Now, obviously, people are gonna be like, well, it has utility to send. Oh, okay, cool. You could argue it a million miles away, but it's not a tangible thing, right? Now, let's get to AI. It's funny how wealth moves. And if you ask me, and I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, I believe a lot of wealth has been taken out of the crypto market by a lot of rich people, and they're now leveraging on AI. That would account for some of the losses we're seeing, some, not all, in crypto. Why are they leveraging it on AI? Because they see AI as the new multi-trillion-dollar industry. I want to give you this quick story, and hopefully you guys can keep up. I think you will. So Nvidia, if you guys play video games, I play video games. I'm an avid Fortniter. Nvidia is a company that makes GPUs. GPUs is a graphic processing unit. It's the thing that your motherboard would use to process the super duper graphics you need to play Call of Duty, this and third. And it's going to show you beautiful graphics that you could play your video game on, right? It's a company that has been lasting for the test of time. And the reason why it's been important now is because what they were doing, they are the basic, they create these chips that are these microchips that are able to process information at lightning speed. Because of that, they were able to take over, they used to compete with Intel. They took over the graphics, industry, and they worked with all the computing companies, especially for gamers and this and third. So if you play games, I'm pretty sure you have a Nvidia graphics card. That's how they started video games. Well, what happened is about a couple years ago, when there was about to be a shift to AI, is that here's the thing with AI. AI is a thing that the growth of AI, right? Like, have y'all been on Twitter? Have y'all seen like a chick post something? There's 80 mentions under it. They're like, yo, Grok, take her shirt off, put her in a bikini. Yo, Grok, have the legs wide open. Yo, Grok, have her bend over. Like, and that's AI. That's AI having to do that lightning speed. And if you just think about that, what happened is that you need these huge data centers, and you also need like really rapid response time to make that happen. So what started out as a company that would make graphics cards realized they had other utilities because they had a proprietary way to work with chips that would work faster than any computer. Okay? So once the world became cognizant that AI was going to take over, they said, who got the fastest processing unit and the fastest chip that could make it happen? Here comes Nvidia. So Nvidia kind of gets out of the gamer space, and now they're like the core chipset makers and GPU makers, or not, well, processing units makers for AI. So that's where Nvidia lands, right? And if you guys are into the stock market, you would have seen Nvidia was like, I'll look up the time. Nvidia soars. Like their stock soared like, it'll be like a long time ago. It was not a long time. It was like a year ago. You're only going to see new shit about it. But I'm just trying to give you, a little rundown. I want to look up everything. So Nvidia starts to basically do these deals and start working with people who need lightning speed computing. Okay? So if you need lightning speed computing, that's what you do. They later get fined because like they were getting contracts for non-gaming stuff and they reported it as gaming stuff. And people were like, yo, you're making that much off games? Come to find out they lied, right? So I think they paid out like $5 million. Nvidia pays out $5 million. They reported, They reported, it was a civil, they disclosed. So the first thing people came to Nvidia with, and you're going to see everything makes sense, it was crypto mining. So in crypto, you need to mine the coins. That's a computing heavy process demanding thing that Nvidia got contracts to do because everybody's working with crypto. They're trying to mine them. They're trying to send them, blah, blah. Nvidia became the place that was, or the company that needed to help process this lightning quick, environment that was cryptocurrency and crypto mining. So they got a bunch of contracts after the video games, right? Or after the computer stuff that people were buying Nvidia for video games. And they've got a bunch of stuff for people wanting the fastest computers to mine. Because remember, there's supposed to be a finite number of Bitcoins. There's a finite number. So you want the fastest computer, the fastest shit to process it. They got a bunch of contracts. When they reported the revenue, they did not say this came from, look, they didn't disclose the impact of crypto mining. They act like they were selling, graphics cards for gamers, right? It said it was gaming business, right? So they lied, right? They lied. So they failed to disclose that their growth was not because of the gaming market, but it was the crypto market. Okay? Hope you're following. So Nvidia, they started with gaming. Crypto comes in and said, we need some super duper computers. We got it. They do the deals. They eventually get sued, but they're still doing the crypto stuff. And then here comes AI, which requires even more need for super duper high speed computing. Okay? Now, keep in mind, my whole premise is nothing is real, and you're going to understand why. So Nvidia gets a bunch of contracts. Their stock shoots through the roof. And then this is where AI is kind of born. Not born, but it's the infrastructure and industry that everybody's now operating off starts to happen. Essentially, companies wanting to develop AI go to Nvidia and say, can you get us, we'll do deals with you to get all of these chips to have this amount of computing power that we need for AI. Now, some of these things are going to be familiar to you. Some may not. One of the ones that do is something called OpenAI. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. But colloquially, and they own this product, OpenAI owns a product called ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI. That was the first big entrance into AI. And they do a deal. Right? They do a deal with Nvidia. Okay? Now, I want to, again, the premise you should be thinking about is how even money and whatever we're thinking is not real. It's all about interpretation. Here comes in a company we've talked about a couple of times, Oracle. Now, the story of Oracle, so pause that first story. So Nvidia OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. So Nvidia leaves, they don't leave gaming because they still do it, but they then go to crypto. After crypto, they're at AI, right? Because they're making the chips, whatever. High speed stuff is needed. Crypto needs it. AI needs it. But let's pause that for a second. That's the chips that's going to do the things required for AI. However, you need the infrastructure that AI is going to live under. And let me give you another real quick explanation. So pause that story right there, right? And I think you guys are smart enough. So we have Nvidia and ChatGPT or OpenAI. But now they need something else, which is where it's going to live. Here comes Oracle that we've talked about. And Oracle, remember, we talked about it with the TikTok thing. Oracle is where TikTok's data is at and the algorithm, right? But before then, Oracle, give me a second. Oracle, I want to break down this company for you, okay? Oracle is a company, I can't remember when it was started. Let me see. Well, I'll just Google it. It doesn't really matter when it was founded. It was founded in 77, okay, by Larry Ellison. I'm going to give you the real quick story about it. You guys could go look up these videos if you really care that much. It's not about one particular story. It's about the overall picture. Oracle founded in 77. It was initially established as, SDL. If you guys work in, or if you're older, you probably know that it was pretty much the first database. And a database is pre the cloud where, it could be, it's a database that could be hosted, like, say, locally, and it was set up in a way that multiple people could access it. It could tell what level of access, and it could interact with each other to properly deal with a company that had many employees that needed to do many things. Okay, I'm making it really simple here, right? Now, this is pre-cloud. Now, Oracle, right, was a enterprise solution, means it wasn't for like you and me. Like it's for a company, right? So companies used to use Oracle. By the way, as we're mentioning that, I got to mention the arms race, because as the cloud becomes popular, databases and the old school database becomes, they become kind of antiquated. So Oracle starts out, and then they start competing, or not start competing. They get blown out of the water by Amazon. Now, what you guys might not know is that, again, Amazon does make a lot of money from Amazon.com. We're on Amazon.com. But the majority of what Amazon does is that they reinvest a lot of their profits, and they don't take, they slim down their margins, so they're not taking that much of a profit. Their goal with their store or their online shop is always about getting every customer to buy from them, even at the expense of their own profit. There were some points during their history when they were offering about, Prime and this and third, they would take losses on things, but it didn't matter as long as they could get every customer to not go to Walmart, to not go to Costco, to not go to Target, but to go to Amazon.com. So this part of their business, it's been one that is very historic, but it hasn't been the most profitable in net profit. Why? They reinvest all the money and they take losses just to get customers, right? What people don't know about Amazon, one of their biggest money makers is not the Kindle. What else they own? They own Whole Foods. That's cool too. One of their biggest money makers is something called AWS, right? Now, if you don't know what that is, AWS is Amazon Web Services. You may not know what this is because you probably don't have to interact with it. It's also kind of an enterprise solution, meaning it's for companies. It's not for you and me. Now, I'm going to tell you why this became lucrative. So remember I told you most companies used to use Oracle? Well, when AWS came on, they were like kind of like, like Google to or Gmail to Yahoo, right? A lot of people were on Yahoo or AOL when Gmail came out. Everybody got a Gmail, right? And essentially what they did was they offered cloud solutions to companies and websites, right? So, without boring you with, and I feel like I might be boring you guys already, but just keep following. To make it short, the reason why, so Amazon, like for example, Twitch is ran on AWS. So there's a cloud, and AWS is Amazon Web Services. So Twitch relies on AWS, okay, for them to have a place to store VODs, a way to process their streams, the bandwidth, everything. AWS, which is owned by Amazon, but they also own Twitch, that's what it's hosted on. Now, get the kicker. All pun intended. I also stream on Kick. Kick is also on the same thing. Kick is also on Amazon Web Services. YouTube is not. YouTube uses their own different thing. But the majority of companies use AWS, whether it's Twitch. Like, that's all. It's always funny when people, like, no matter if you're on Kick or Twitch, you're on Amazon's web services, right? Like, if you're on, I don't know, most like, companies or most websites you like, they're on AWS. Maybe even Instagram. I could look it up. Is Instagram hosted on AWS? Oh, no longer, but they used to. They used to. Okay, cool. So basically, it's like one of the first cloud situations, and they get paid millions, well, actually billions of dollars for these contracts from companies to be able to run. Without AWS, you can't have a Twitch. Without AWS, you can't have a Kick. So cool. They pop out and they get a lot of market share, and now Oracle is looking like the old niggas who got no tech, right? Because their cloud thing is not that, it's not that inviting. It's just not popping like that, right? And they basically become the easy solution for everybody in the, big company space. So everybody's usually using AWS, right? And that's why they're kind of cleaning up, because they had, I think their market share was like 70% or something like that. Anyway, Oracle, which was more robust, it was more technical, and because it was based on database, not just straight to the cloud, it was really good, really robust, but it just wasn't the fan favorite. It wasn't cute. It's like the nerdy, ugly bitch. Like, she knows a lot and she's cool, but the pretty bitch that's a dummy, like, you're gonna go with that. So that's why everybody went with AWS. Now, ironically, when AI comes around, AWS is just a little bit too simplistic for what's needed for AI. Remember, AI needs a lot of computing power. It needs organizations. It needs shit that is, when you ask Grok a question, it's like this, right? It can't be like, oh, I'm thinking, give me 5 seconds. Now, hold on. I'm waiting on the signal to get back from the whole data center in Oklahoma. It's not going to work. So AI has to be bang. So now we connect the two stories, right? OpenAI, who just gets a deal with Nvidia, needs to host AI somewhere virtually. They got two options, pretty much. There's another one, but we're not going to get into that. Their options of where to host AI is going to be Amazon or Oracle. Now, Oracle, who was kind of down bad, actually fit all the requirements for what the fuck OpenAI needed. All of the things that was unattractive was now attractive because AI is really intensive and required extreme organization. Things that Oracle provided and had in place that AWS didn't. What happens is OpenAI, they already got to deal with Nvidia. They get down with Oracle over AWS. Now, this is reflected really quickly, and this is where we get to the money. You know me, I'm a pocket watcher, always follow the money. You probably saw a story that Larry Ellison became the second richest person in the world, and this is really interesting. So in 2025 to 2026, Oracle co-founder frequently reached, he became the second richest person in the biggest surge that people ever seen, right? The stock of Oracle jumped all the way up, okay? And most of that was this AI bet that is pretty much happening. But I'm going to explain it to you, and I hope you guys could get it. First and foremost, I'll explain. I have a video. I'll play a few seconds of it. So this is why, and I'm telling you why. The whole goal is to tell you why money is all about perception.
In the AI boom, we've seen some crazy jumps in net worth. Sam Altman, Zuckerberg.
So Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI.
Larry Page from Google.
That's Google.
Jensen Huang, and of course,
that's Nvidia.
Elon Musk.
X, obviously.
But why Ellison, and why a jump of over 100 billion?
So Larry Ellison, so when OpenAI picks Oracle instead of AWS, and it's not like it was a one-on-one like this or that, but when they pick Oracle, everybody who is interested, so basically ChatGPT picks Oracle, and because everybody believes AI is the future, well, that's the hottest bitch in the party now, Oracle. So the worth of Oracle, boom, perceivably. We're going to get to financials a little bit.
According to Bloomberg, this was the biggest one-day increase ever recorded. Not even Jensen Huang, despite
that's the guy for Nvidia.
Founding Nvidia, saw a jump like that. And that's because equity always wins.
There we go.
Huang owns about 3% of Nvidia, and even with just that, he's one of the world's richest people. Zuckerberg owns an impressive 13% of Meta, but Larry
I was actually shocked by that. I thought Zuckerberg owned a little bit more than that.
Is on a different level. He still owns 42% of Oracle.
Okay. Larry Ellison owns 42% of Oracle, right? So his net worth, just goes through the roof. He's the second richest guy behind Elon. And this is where we get to, and maybe this is maybe the most interesting part of this part of the monologue, in you guys understanding money. So, Oracle gets picked by OpenAI / ChatGPT. And it's basically Nvidia, ChatGPT, OpenAI, and Oracle. That's really the big investment in AI, the first one. There's a lot of dominoes gonna fall, but let me explain to you how, number one, this is no better than you having $500 in your bank account, going to the casino, going to the roulette table, and not even spreading it around. You pick one number. I think when you go to roulette, it pays 35 to 1. You put everything on, I don't know, number 17. I'm going to explain. So, what ends up happening is the net worth, and some of these companies are public. These companies' perceived value gets ridiculous. Obviously, Oracle, right? Because of this supposed new frontier of AI. The three people who are set to win: Oracle, that's the database and the AI cloud, the power behind it. Nvidia, the chips that will run the infrastructure. And OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, which people love. Listen to this financials right here. This is crazy. So, OpenAI makes a 1.5 trillion. And it happened last year. They made a 1.5 trillion promise. Now, I hope you know what a trillion is. 1,000 billion is a trillion, right? Like 1,000, right? They make a $1.5 trillion promise about what they're down to invest in the infrastructure of AI. Now, this is wild. Everybody's like, oh my God, the new frontier has to be AI. It has to. They're making a 1.5 trillion promise for the investment into, look, the infrastructure deal's worth up to $1.5 trillion. Now, what's important is that this promise is supposed to, and hold on, let me see if I see it here. Hold on, I probably just have to get it from AI, which is ironic. Okay, right here. It's supposed to happen between last year up until 2035. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, again, I'm just trying to show you, it's just a money conversation, really. All right. Now, OpenAI is not like it's not a company that's making a lot of money. I'm going to make it really simple because I feel like I'm dragging it already. OpenAI in its highest, usually in 2024, it made like $10 billion in revenue, right? We're not talking about losses. We're just talking about gross. $10 billion in 2024. They made $20 billion in 2025. Yet they have committed to being down to spend $1.5 trillion in the next 9 years. The company is not worth that. Yes, remember, it's 1,000 billion for a trillion. Essentially what I'm trying to say, they're not making close to what they claim they're going to invest in the next 9 years, but they're betting that the industry is going to work and everybody else is leveraging the bet. That's why everybody's net worth is going up. So everybody's net worth is that's involved in AI is not really real. It's off this one bet. This, by the way, it's not even backed by banks. Let me see if I can look. It's not even backed by banks. So I think this guy actually does a good job of explaining it. Let me see. Here we go.
Art.
Is it him?
And Altman just insisted there were, quote, way more users.
Is it this? No, here we go.
To exist and do that.
And this is why I was comparing it to just walking in the casino, right? Because they're making a bet, but they don't even have enough to pay it.
AI needs is a ton of data. You can't build enforcement for.
Sorry.
Companies mining the rare earth metal.
Okay, come on.
Since they first met in the early 2000s, microreactors, literally truck-sized mobile drone. 2024, he announced the product that had supposedly offered of techno-fascism. WorldCoin's backers say it can be a way to give out some form of universal basic income when AI starts replacing jobs.
I think this idea that we have a global currency that is outside of the control of any government is a...
Oh, no. It's here. My bad. Sorry.
On AI infrastructure over the next 8 years.
Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Okay, this explains
Brad,
better.
if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you up.
Here we go. Okay.
Watch this clip of Sam Altman having
Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, right?
Very strange reaction to an interviewer who's pretty friendly to big tech, and I'll explain in a second.
How can the company with 13 billion in
at the time they had 13 billion in revenue
revenues make 1.4 trillion of spend commitments? And you've heard
basically saying if you're making $10 an hour, how could you say you're going to spend $2,000? You're making $10 a year. How could you say in 10 years you're going to spend $2,000? The math ain't mathing. If we extrapolate, even with a small growth factor, if you're making $10 million or 13, to be accurate, you're not going to make $1.5 trillion over 10 years. So how are you claiming you're going to do this, right?
The criticism,
First
Sam.
of all, we're doing well more revenue than that. Second of all, Brad, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. Enough.
So why does Altman seem so upset here? After all,
that's the CEO.
This interviewer is just pointing out a basic fact.
Which, again, I'm bringing it up because we're going to come back to this. This guy's either really smart or he's the biggest idiot.
Well more revenue than that. Second of all,
So why does Altman seem so upset here? After all, this interviewer is just pointing out a basic fact, that OpenAI has committed to spend over $1 trillion on AI infrastructure over the next 8 years, despite only bringing in around $13 billion a year in recurring revenue, less than 1% of what they're promising to spend. I'm no money genius, and I'm personally terrible at budgeting, but that doesn't seem great. Most of the supposed growth in the American economy in 2025 was caused by investment in AI. That's all part of a promise being made by the industry, led by Sam Altman.
So exactly. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Larry Ellison's net worth is up. He's the second richest. Well, I don't think he is. He's number 4 now. He's behind Jeff Bezos again. Definitely Elon, who's still number 1. And he's behind, I think, Zuck. We could look at Forbes. Forbes has like a running list. Yeah, they have a running list. I think he's top 5. Let's see. Yeah. Elon, Zuck. Yeah, and Ellison's here. But his shit went up a lot. And I guess the point what I'm trying to say is that it's all perception. You know?
That once a certain level of machine learning intelligence is reached, all of our problems will be solved.
So that's the whole bet on AI. That once we could figure out, once AI is properly funded and it takes over everything, it's going to be the biggest thing. Jobs going to be done. We're going to cure cancer. We're going to do everything. We're going to be able to hover, fly, all that type of shit. And that AI is going to rule the world and not just be an ancillary parts of our life, right? Like right now, like what y'all use AI for, which by the way, Grok is hosted on Oracle. Grok is hosted on Oracle, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Oracle. The majority of, whatever you guys use in terms of AI is on that Oracle. That's why Larry Ellison is popping so much. But the bet on AI is that AI is going to take over everything. It's going to eliminate most jobs, and people are going to essentially have to adopt to new things that's going to support the AI infrastructure that's going to control the world, obviously hoping it doesn't become what they call sentient, where it now becomes its own thing and it just fucks us all up, right? So that's the bet. And because of the bet, which, by the way, it's not backed by any bank. It's just like this one dude. Not really. I'm kind of being a little bit disingenuous, but it's not really backed by like a lot of different things. And I guess it is because it is backed by like the investments that people are putting in. But it's really one guy's vision.
The housing crisis, cancer, poverty, climate
change. Cancer, poverty.
Mental health, democracy, universal basic income, cure a bunch of diseases, this cancer.
Yeah, this guy right here is a legend. Watch him.
And that one, and heart disease.
Helping you try to accomplish your goals and be your best.
Very high quality healthcare. Important new scientific discoveries. The marginal cost of energy are going to trend rapidly towards zero. The more equal world.
Universal extreme wealth for everybody.
In exchange for all that, Altman is asking all of society to put all of our eggs, our data, our economy, our water and resources, everything, into one basket. His. He's offering us one massive, just trust me, bro. So,
hey, it works.
Should we trust Altman? Should we accept his deal? Is it even our choice? Altman isn't a technologist or scientist. He's an investor and deal maker, and really good at it, supposedly. But his whole career is a series of just trust me, bro moments. So let's examine the deal Altman is offering all of us. Should we believe Sam Altman's promises? And what's the cost to the rest of us if those promises turn out to be lies?
And chat, that is the, I hope in however long I took to get to this point, you guys kind of get the backbone of what this AI infrastructure and AI world we're into. It might work. It might just completely take everything over. But based on this guy's promise, everybody has bought in. Like, they believe it. So you have every company. You have X, which is obviously Elon's company, investing, tens of millions of dollars, or billions of dollars, I mean. You have the U.S. government, everybody's investing into AI, but the investments and the workload that's needed from it, because remember I brought up Nvidia, it requires a lot of computing power, a lot. Basically, what's happened is that AI really is only going to pay off if it runs the world. Not if the only use of AI is for you to be like, hey, Grok, take the bikini off shorty. Like, that's not going to be the payoff. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be what justifies, like, all the money and billions of dollars that they're spending on computing power to have this technology if AI doesn't run everything. So essentially, this guy kind of convinced everybody AI finna run everything. Believe me. Okay?
So let's go back and look closer at Altman's early days.
Okay.
How many users there
All right. So I'm not going to do too much on that, but I did want to get into two more things, and I know it's kind of ran long. I don't even know if this is a monologue at this point. But, it's important to kind of see some of these players and kind of see what's happening, because that's where the world is going. Everybody's leveraging their money in AI. Okay? The net worth, the financials of the world currently are inflated basically based on the belief that AI is the future. Now, if it doesn't happen to be completely the future, or, it takes steps back, it's going to be catastrophic for certain companies, and it's going to be a lot of money lost. But currently, everybody's making the same bet. And they're making the same bet because there's a few players that's already heavily invested. Oracle, obviously, that's their thing now because they can't compete with Amazon Web Services for, like, say, Twitch or Kick. Nvidia, it's already getting all type of requests, not only for crypto, but now for AI. And then you have like ChatGPT, which everybody's fascinated with the idea of speed, being able to save time, and having like these virtual assistants, or having AI being able to problem solve and run models and do things that, maybe it would require several thousand humans to do. So that's what it's going to be, right? And obviously also it's going to affect the music industry if you do care about that, right? Like, it's going to be how music gets processed, music get made, music gets tested, music gets written and created, sounds get produced, and all of the sort. Anyway, interesting enough. I'm trying to figure out. Give me 1 second. What was my next thing? What was the next thing I was trying to get to? Oh, okay. So yeah, that's pretty much what seems to be the future of every industry, where AI is completely going to be taken over. Now, AI has definitely helped out to do a lot of things. I mean, AI could help make a thumbnail. It could help you plan a business, make a website. I know a lot of people use AI to kind of help out with with analyzing the Epstein files, right? Which, if you guys don't know, I think we kind of looked into a bunch of stuff, and we're going to talk about the Epstein files slightly again a little bit later. Won't be completely devoid of some hip hop stuff, clearly. Calm down. But I do see people asking me to kind of react to